So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's Policy and Planning Committee meeting. Welcome to those online. Welcome to members of the public, should they be here, and the committee. Thank you, and staff. So the welcome prayer has been said this morning. So we'll go to apologies, and I have apologies this afternoon from His Worship the Mayor, Andy Watson, who's at another meeting on behalf of Council. Pikiti Ora Hiro, who is unable to be with us, our chair, and that's why I'm standing in this afternoon as your deputy chair today. And Greg Morn, who welcome Greg online. Thank you for joining us. We have no public forum. Conflict of interest declarations, welcome now or during the meeting, anytime. We understand that process. Confirmation of order of business. No changes. No changes, thank you. And confirmation of minutes. Beginning on page 6, is it? Yes. So page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12. Page 12?
No, happy to move.
Thank you. Councillor Lambert, and seconded.
Seconding, thank you.
Councillor Wilson, thank you.
So we've got 2 lots of minutes. That's the first one. The second one is page 13 onwards.
So the second one's one is from Thursday the 25th of July, page 13, page 14, 15, 16, 17, and page 18.
That moves true and correct.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson, and seconded Councillor Lambert. Thank you. So going on to page 19, follow-up action items from previous minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're happy to take questions on the 2 items that are there, but we've also got Johan Cullis here to provide an update on the first item.
Thank you, Mr. Cullis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last time, His Worship asked for a report to be run on how many CCCs are currently outstanding in our system, code compliance certificates. We have ran a check, and there's 548 CCCs outstanding, and that dates back from the eldest is 2020, and the youngest 2023. Out of that, I thought I'd just give a little bit of a breakdown of what those mainly consist out of. And what we found was there's at least 30 new houses amongst those CCCs, 32 relocated houses, 46 garages / carports. Not so important about 40 wood fires, because they wouldn't really affect if we're looking at rating here. And then quite significantly about 77 pole sheds, covered yards, or implement sheds. And some of those covered yards that we can see in the system is about anything from 300 square meters to about 700 square meters. So also quite significant builds. But if we total that up, this accounts for about 49% of all CCCs outstanding, and the other 51% is made up mainly of alterations, and they take various shapes and forms, or other structures like decks, underpasses, those types of builds. So I hope that answers the question. I'm happy to take any questions.
Perhaps one quick one from each of you. What's the process of following up some of these, noting that you said some of them date back to 2020? Is there a follow-up process or?
No, so in terms of regulatory, we have to make a decision at 2 years to whether we issue a CCC or not, and that is if we haven't received an application for a CCC. The other ones, like for the 2023 ones, that is the youngest ones, what has happened is the applicant has finished their building. They may have failed their final inspection, and we are waiting for them to rebook that. But as long as we've made a decision whether to issue or not, then in terms of our statutory requirements, we have met the Building Act.
Councillor Lambert?
So we're happy with where we're at with this? I think I've asked this question before.
Well, I don't think it goes about happy, Madam Chair.
Well, probably normal.
Yeah. Normal in the sense of, from a regulatory side, it's whether council wishes perhaps another department to pursue
Oh, yeah.
those outstanding issues, as in through QV, through the rates department. Yeah.
One further, if I may, you made the comment that an outstanding one, council would close it off or finish it off. Do you make contact with the person who submitted the original consenting?
Correct. So there's two forms of correspondence that goes out. One will be if you reach your 2 years without applying, you'll get a 21 month reminder plus I think it's a 23-month reminder, and then a decision after 2 years. And then the other one is if you failed your final inspection, you'll get an inspection report saying that a final inspection is still due before we'll issue the CCC.
Subsequent, if I may, and throughout that 23 month report, an extension can be applied for.
Correct, yes.
And that would go for how long?
We normally will consider anything up to 12 months. And then thereafter, it's just basically again making the decision. The person can subsequently, in any other years, still apply for a CCC. It's just that we need to make a decision.
Is there funds on that application of extension needing to be paid?
I'll have to check, Madam Chair, but I think there is a fee for extensions.
Thank you. No questions.
Any further questions? Right, well, I'll move that follow-up action items from Policy and Planning Committee be received. Thank you, Mr. Gillis.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Seconder, Mr. Wong, Councillor Wong, beg your pardon. And all in favour?
Right.
Carried, thank you. Thank you. And now we come to Whakatiora Hiroa's Chair's report, which I will read. Tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome back to our August meeting for the Policy and Planning Committee. I'd like to acknowledge Te Whata Ora, Mopai Pātea Services, and also the concerned citizen who spoke to their submissions for the smoke-free and vape policy at the hearings meeting last month. This can be an intimidating process for people that have never done it before, and I applaud all three presenters for your submissions. Garnering community voice is one of the important ways that Council employs in its decision-making processes. Beg your pardon. We have a number of important kaupapa in this month's agenda, with deliberations being made on the smoke-free and vape-free policy and signs and public places bylaw. Our Policy Planning Committee have been delegated this responsibility by full council. Some of the other items will include updates from our hard-working staff around strategies, plans, policies, bylaws, and also economic wellbeing in our district. One of the most important updates, however, will be around the Coalition Government Q3 Action Plan and how that affects all councils. With 7 action points central government is identifying, one has to wonder how we continue to implement change that is coming at a fast and furious pace, as well as looking after business as usual, having to prioritise our own projects, and on top of it all, wonder where the money is coming from to fund everything. Whakatau, excuse me, it's my Maori voice, excuse me, te reo. Whakatauki, mā mua ka kite a muri, mā mua ka ora a mua. Those who lead give sight to those who follow. Those who follow give life to those who lead. Ngā mihi mahana pikiti ora hiroa tia mana. I recommend that the report be received. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lambert. Are there any questions or anything? Obviously, I can't answer them, but any comments?
No, she raised some valid points.
Okay, thank you. Reports for decision.
Carried.
Oh, have we not done that?
No.
I beg your pardon, we had a seconder. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. On to page 22, reports for decision, and we have Jenna Harris taking us through. Thank you.
So today we're here for the deliberations on the signs and public places bylaw. Council consulted on this through May, June, and we received a total of 5 submissions on the bylaw. We had no submitters choosing to hear at the speaking. At the hearings. No submitters chose to speak at the hearing. The report provides a summary of all the submissions and some recommendations based off what the submissions have requested. Happy to take your lead in how you'd like to run through this.
We'll take the reports read. Have we got any questions from? Yes,
Just
Councillor Wilson.
not so much a question, but I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Number of submitters there, but they were submitting on various different aspects of it. Have we responded to the submitters individually, thanking for their response? Or does that come
We
after?
have responded to all submitters to acknowledge the submission.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Councillor Long.
I've read through this and I think you've answered the questions for the submitters quite well, but a question I had was that the Northern councillors run talking tables on the main street in the town, and whether it falls through the cracks or we're actually preaching can be questioned, but it precludes us using any tables or chairs on the footpath. Has anyone got any comments about that, please?
So I do believe just in the interim that this, did you have something to say?
Sorry, Madam Chair, through you.
Absolutely.
If I'm understanding correctly, from memory, the bylaw allows the use of tables and chairs in normal business practice. So if it's your shop and you want to use a meter space in front of that shop, you can do so as of right. It's when other people are standing in front of your shop that there might be some exclusions because it's not the owner's business taking place in front of the shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we as councillors are not trading of that person's shop. So we don't fall under the trading category.
Yes, but it's it's normally, if it's not the owner himself, the person in front of the shop has asked them their permission.
I see.
Yes, so this has come up before. And sorry, Councillor Wilson, would you like to go?
Minor amendment 6.2 recommends exactly that. That before commencing the activity, permission must be granted by the owners of the premise or the building in front of land activity. So I think now that has been listed in this report as potentially being a minor amendment to this policy. Should it be adopted, I think that would cover the issue that Councillor Wong is referring to.
So, sorry if you don't mind me just jumping in. So that one there would cover needing permission from doing the activity outside the building. It doesn't address, which is 7.4, that tables and chairs can't be placed outside. in association with this activity. But then if you go further down to 7.9, it does provide a pathway for displaying stands and has got some rules there, such as the size.
Does that answer your question, councillor
I
Wong?
think so, but thank you.
Yes, when this last came up, which was possibly a year or so ago or longer, it was established that the talking table needed to have permission from the shop owner, and otherwise nothing was said, and that permission has been granted. So hopefully we are within the law, for the bylaw. Very good. Any further questions?
I was just going to make a comment. Sadly, in Taipi, there are a number of vacant premises on the Taipi Golden Mile. The talking table could be set up in front of one of those.
With the appropriate permission being sought.
Yeah, with the appropriate permission being sought,
Right.
as opposed to blocking.
Yes,
Just a suggestion.
thank you. Right, so I did have a question. Ms. Harris, thank you. 6.2, page 24. I was wondering about the wording in 7.1. Just wanted some clarity around the use of, in the second line, land the activity, building or land the activity is operating outside or on. I wondered if outside was too large a description and whether that should be more specific.
Yeah, so that's the same clauses we're just talking about
Yes.
on page 36.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I received your question, thank
Thank
you.
you.
And I do think that you raised a valid point and suggest that we change it to say owner of the land or building the activity is operating adjacent to or on.
Thank you. I think that does clarify it a bit more. I'm satisfied with that. Is there any further comment on that from other councillors? No, thank you. So we're at the point of receiving that report then with amendment. Would anyone like to? Thank you, councillor
Move
Wilson.
receipt of the report,
Oh,
Chair.
receipt, beg your pardon.
First of all, recommendation one.
This one here, yes. Thank you. Councillor Wilson, seconded by councillor Lambert. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Carried. And recommendation 2. Is where I was up to. Yes, well, I'm happy to move that then with amendment. Seconded, councillor Wilson. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Carried, thank you. And recommendation 3. That the Policy Planning Committee recommends to council that the signs in public places bylaw. Do we have a mover? We have 3 options. Here is the most appropriate way to address nuisance and health and safety in public places, trading in public places and controlling advertising signage. You'd like to move that, thank you, councillor Wilson. Thank you, councillor Lambert, all in favour? Aye, thank you, carried. Great, so 9.2, smoke-free and vape-free policy deliberations report. And we are on page
52.
Up to
Yep, there we go. Yep.
So council consulted on this policy alongside the draft bylaw that we just talked about. We received 13 submissions on the policy and 3 of these submitters chose to speak at the hearing that was held last month. The report provides a summary of all the submissions and recommended changes that have been made to the policy.
Jenna, I wonder if you just want to talk about the feedback we had from health organisation after the meeting as well.
Yes.
They sent a subsequent email That's all right, I can summarise. They,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if you remember their slide that we were shown as one of the few districts that didn't have a policy. In their email to us the other day, they said that even that they don't update those maps more than once a year. So as it was imminent that potentially the committee would be adopting this, that they're actually changing that as of earlier this week to include us on that map, and that would also be available at the local government conference next week, which I'm sure me and Andy will be very happy to see the district is included as having a policy. So, and they were really complimentary of the policy.
Mhm. Yes, they did say, what a great policy it was, so well done, thank you. So any comments?
Well, I'm happy to move receipt of,
Thank you, councillor Wilson,
receipt of the policy.
seconded councillor Wong. All in favour?
Right.
Thank you. Carried. I did have a bit of comment on this one. There were a number of submitters, and predominantly very positive, but there were some comments about overreach and unenforceable, and over enforcement approach, etc. And I thought the point could be made that, again, that this is a policy rather than a bylaw. And it is acknowledged that we cannot enforce this, but our focus is on education and persuasion. And I thought that that should be made, brought to our, into focus again for the public, that this isn't in effect overreach in that respect. It is actually supporting positive action for our communities, given our vulnerabilities there. So on that note, so we've received it, and no further comment. Anyone? No? No, so we're happy with that, and thanks again, staff. So would someone like to move recommendation 2?
Haven't moved yet.
Thank you. Seconded by councillor Wong. All in favour? Is it worth noting that was unanimous?
Just through you, Chair, I do think it's worthwhile noting your comments. Because I think you're absolutely bang on the money with regards to that this is a council policy which endorses the health and wellbeing of our entire community. So I think it was valid point.
It's not a bylaw.
Yes, thank you.
Well,
And we do the comms that this one is out there, we can use some of that language as well.
Thank you. Excellent. And thank you also. I thought this was the use of the pie chart, because I do love pies. That was very helpful. So I really very good. Very good. Right. So now we are up to
Program. Environmental work program.
10.1, is it?
9.3.
9.3, beg your pardon. Policy and bylaw work program update on page
66.
66.
66, yeah.
Thank you. And is that you again,
Yes,
Jen?
back to
Thank
me.
you. Lovely.
So this report provides a bit of an update on our policy and bylaw work program. One of the policies we've got here is the community housing policy, which we've got Michael Hart here to answer any questions if you have them. He's the one who's written this policy.
Welcome.
thank you.
Mr. Hart, would you like to join us at the table?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Few spare seats today.
Yeah.
Good. Is there anything you'd like to speak to on this one?
If anyone's got any questions about it, I'm happy to answer those. And essentially it wasn't a radical change. It was just essentially a rewrite of what we've already had in place. We've just refined it a little bit. We've retained the core eligibility principles, and so essentially, like just a rewrite of what we've previously held.
Yes, councillor Wilson.
Have you had, during the formulation of this rewrite or review, if that's what you want to call it, did you have input from the residents in our housing directly, or?
No, not so much. I mean, we just sort of maintained the intent, which was to keep it, for the over 65s with low income, low means. It seems to be working pretty well. We've got essentially 100% occupancy of the community housing, bar one that's being renovated at the moment. But
When you were, subsequent if I may, when you were viewing through the policy and you mentioned essentially it was just a review and you made a couple of fine tuning.
Yep.
Was there anything of great significance that you did in that? That you
not so much. No, it was like I say, the main criteria was
here
just,
and there type thing?
yeah, just to keep it at the over 65s, and it's kind of changed since we had the last one done in 2018 when there was probably less occupancy. And we'd sort of opened it up, maybe even a couple of years before that, opened it up to, those under 65, which sort of created a little bit of hassle for us. So, yeah, I mean, our main intent is over 65s, low income, low means, and it seems to be working quite well.
And so if I might keep going, is there anything unique about our situation for our with this policy district-wide, bearing this is not Martin, this is a district-wide policy?
No, I don't think there's anything unique. We did some comparisons to other councils, other districts. Our settings for the asset base and income base was probably a little bit lower than, say, we looked at Queenstown, which was, the asset base was, $20,000. We've kept it in line with the accommodation supplement income or asset thresholds at 8.1, which is quite good.
Just noted it there.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to do, keep it at sort of the lower income, being Rangitikei being a bit be a little bit less
Lower socioeconomic.
than Queenstown, for example.
All right, good, thank you. That's all from me, Chair.
So a question for me.
Sure.
Just in 4.4 on page 66, you mentioned that there now is a waiting list. So in
Yeah.
2018, there wasn't.
I'm not sure that's before my time starting, but I think less of a waiting list then. We've probably got it's probably eased off a bit in the last 6 months. I was getting probably 5, 6, 7, 8 applications of interest a week. It's probably dropped down to maybe 3 or 4 a month. Maybe in 2018 it was probably a little, a bit lower as well, because the occupancy rates weren't quite there.
Thank you. Good. Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, appreciate it.
Within the report, I've also provided an update on the TAB venues policy and the Class 4 gambling venues policy. This here is just more to bring it to your attention that we are starting the review of this policy, and I intend to bring a social impact assessment to the next committee meeting. All I really ask is there an early direction or indication on what you might like to see in the policy, what you'd like us to explore, and if there was any key stakeholders you see us just engaging with before we start drafting a policy.
Councillor Wilson?
Yeah, just one thing. And I haven't looked at this policy, but I was sitting at the council table last time it was formulated, and we had, I believe we operate what's known as a sinking lid policy currently with regards to gaming venues.
Actually, we have a cap in place.
A cap.
So that means we've currently got 58 machines in the district, and that means only more machines can come online if some machines stop operating. A sinking lid policy would be if the cap is reduced as machines disappear.
So if a venue was to close, we've got a cap at 58. So if a venue was to close, those machines could be picked up by another venue.
That's correct.
Sinking lid. Yeah, I'd want to, not for this meeting, but I'd want to explore that one a little more too. Yeah.
So is that something that we need to schedule for discussion at another meeting?
Well, just as Gina's just saying that this is something that's coming up and she was asking for anything to focus on, I'd just like to explore that a little bit more and what the impacts that has in our environment, mainly from a business point of view, as to what that does with, pressure on what are ultimately small businesses, no matter what they do within their business, they are small businesses.
So as part of that, in 5.4, it does say that part of our policies does state that we wish to reduce the number. Even though we have a cap at the moment, so that discussion's obviously started somewhere. Very good. Any further comment? All right, thank you, Jenna. That's it, lovely, thank you very much. So have we received that report?
Not yet.
No. Councillor Lambert would like to move the receipt of that report. Councillor Wong will second it. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Carried. And the Policy and Planning Committee recommend to council that the community housing policy be adopted with or without amendment.
Yeah.
Without amendment, seconded councillor Lambert. All in favour? Aye, thank you, carried. Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Lovely, thank you. So we're up to number 10. Mana whenua implications.
Right, economic wellbeing update, so that'll be page 78.
I beg your pardon. I had 10 in my head. Sorry, 78.
Yeah, page 78, 10.
Found it. Good, economic wellbeing update. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Well, I will take the report as read, but I will just point you to a statement I made there, which said that a verbal update would be provided at the meeting in 2.2.1, given that this report was written 2 weeks ago. And the economic landscape has shifted very quickly, which sort of suggests to me that long-term is a month at the moment, it feels like. We saw a Reserve Bank announcement yesterday, which was to change its stance. That easing of interest rates has started a lot earlier than they had predicted in their May monetary sort of policy statement. Reduced 0.25% off the interest rates. That will be good news for homeowners, good news for retailers, and thus signalling now that there will be further cuts this year, with a further reductions in 2025 well below 4% is their current kind of commentary. So some welcome news for anyone with a home loan, anyone who relies on money from sort of the residential market in particular are going to be thinking that this is a slightly positive news. The impact on inflation will yet to be seen, but the current forecast for inflation is for that to come well within the Reserve Bank's guidelines around about that sort of 2.4% by the end of September, 2.3, sorry, by the end of September. We will still likely see an increase in unemployment as well, as per their commentary. And you will see just within the report, I have made comment that within our district, employment has been growing steadily, 7.7% growth in our district compared to a year earlier. So the employment market is growing, but at the same time, the unemployment rate has increased as well. So there are some pressures in that space to be felt. I will just sort of comment as well that the Business After 5 events that have been running continue to operate and are being well attended by elected members and by businesses. So I thank you for your attendance to those. And we did have a project that we brought to this committee's attention a couple of months ago, might be a couple of meetings ago, where we were starting to collaborate with building owners around what sort of pathway we can assist them with to help the look and feel of the frontage of the buildings by painting. We've done a lot of the background work there, and the next steps for that project are to engage with the property owners to really just test the demand now that we know what the costs for them are likely to be.
And this specifically for the Main Street of Martin.
No, so I'm doing the same work right the way
District
across the
wide.
district. Yes,
Thank
yeah, absolutely.
Councillor Loudon, did you have a question?
Two questions in my own previous,
Yeah.
2.1.1, the GDP is up 1.6%. In what area was it up? Up compared with nationally?
Yeah, so we're in a really interesting space with GDP in terms of economic growth. I don't have the ability to drill down on this data yet to be able to identify where that growth is. You'll see there that I've sort of commented that that data is due next week. So as soon as I have that data, I'll make it available to elected members, because it is an interesting result. So as soon as I have that data, I'll share that.
The second question is unemployment rate for the 15 to 24-year-olds is a big concern in this country and around the world. Just with our success in the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, where does our 15 to 24 unemployment rate sit? Have you got that data?
I do. So we are 2% ahead of the national average for unemployment in that NEET space. So that's not in employment or education between 16 and 24. So we do have a higher proportion of unemployed in that younger NEET space.
But we are very successful in the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Just moving into 3, I'd just like to thank all elected members for your attendance at the workshop with Becca last week. Stakeholder interviews have been progressing really well in that space, and we're getting into the actual development of that work. So we will be looking to have a draft strategy and action plan for review towards the back end of September. That's the target for that. And then you'll see there a comment around the town centres with regards to the Better Off funding. Just like to thank those that attended the Taihape meeting we had, that might be 2 weeks ago now. Really well attended, really good engagement from various stakeholders with regards to what could we explore further for Taihape. Maps and wayfinding was the big theme that came through. Artwork and murals closely followed. And we're investigating those and we'll continue to provide an update.
So I have a question.
Yes.
On that meeting in Taihape, I just wondered, just looking at the implications and the engagement, did you actually have any mana whenua who attended that Taihape meeting?
No, we didn't in the end have anyone attend. We did have invitations that went out, and we have been engaging with Pikitiora to understand that, Councillor Hiro, to understand how we best get that information through and get further engagement.
Excellent, thank you.
Well noted, thank you.
Thank you, Jared. Do we have any more questions for Jared on this particular report? No?
Interesting statistics would be my comment, as you pointed out, Jared, like the unemployment and the GDP growth and all that.
Yes, and I'd like to add my 2 cents to that too. I think this is a really great report, and when you first brought this reporting to us, it really struck me that it's really fills up a lot of background information that we need as councillors. So I'd really like to thank you very much for this work. Excellent. Oh, sorry, Councillor Loudon.
A question, just thinking about 15, 24-year-olds. Have you any data regarding academic success in our local schools with those stats?
Really good question. Within this reporting that's coming out at the end of the month that I refer back to, will be the opportunity to explore into that a little bit further as well. And Becca have touched on some of that with regards to education outcomes for, in particular, school leavers, what education they're coming out of school with.
Thank you.
Do I have a mover that the economic wellbeing update be received? Councillor Wong, thank you. Seconded. Councillor Lambert, all in favour? Aye, thank you, carried. thank you very much again, Mr. Culkin. So now we're on to the 10.2 Coalition Government Q3 Action Plan. Katrina, thank you so much.
Great, thank you. I'll take the report as read, but just highlight a couple of comments. This is the third of the coalition government action plans that you've seen. We think it's really important that as a committee, you're right in the space of understanding what's coming out from central government. There's still a lot that's impacting the local government sector. And so I've just pulled out a few of those actions there that I thought were probably the most significant. Of note, the Three Waters space and the RMA space as well. Quite a few changes coming through there. And then also the Regional Infrastructure Fund that's now open. I'm happy to take any comments or questions.
Councillor Wilson?
Are we active in the Regional Infrastructure Fund? Have we taken an action on that, or is that something that's been worked on to be in that space?
Yeah, so I'll pass over to Mr. Culkin to speak with that. He's taking the lead internally.
Yes, so we are working closely with the Regional Infrastructure Fund and MBA, which is Kanoa, as we know them. So we're having active conversations with them in that space.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Just another one for me, so yeah, a bit painy, but this is taking the with Mr. Cullis in here, this whole proposal, this granny flat thing, which they seem to be, it seems to be in the catch phrase, but the devil's always in the detail. Have you got any comments on that? Because I think there's a total misconception of what that actually does and what that actually means with regards to the regulatory environment. Some people seem to think that it's a freelance,
Build what you
just
like.
knock something out in the back and you're all fine. So how do we just be abreast of that a little bit and sensitive to what is, I believe, is a misinterpretation of what the government was meaning?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Yes, we did comment as staff to the submission, which came before council. So our comments are well documented.
Yes, and yes, I did read that submission. It was an excellent submission. Thank you. And pointed out all many of the pitfalls that I could see coming.
Yeah, I guess, and yes, I was aware that we had done that, but I guess I'm just fleshing it out a little bit. The fact that these little catch cries for law changes get totally misread. Everyone refers to the, dare I say it, the Jacinda law where you could build anything for 30 metres, and I thought they just had this free cut lunch to go and do whatever they like, which when everybody looks into it, and I'm just mindful that this will get misinterpreted as being some sort of a free ride, and that we need to be a bit mindful of that to a certain extent.
Well, through you, Madam Chair, the exemptions under 1.2 in the Building Act does sort of pave the way for that, because people only read the first part of it. Yeah. And then they forget the district plan part of it. So it does create some complexities for us that has to go and check on compliance. And then you left with some interesting debate as to which part is correct and
I guess
taken for granted.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. And furthermore, if I may, but I just think that somewhere, I think it should be our responsibility to a certain extent. Not some of our responsibility is if something like this does come out, and we just need to be mindful, and perhaps it's a comms thing again, or in our general discussions that you might be able to do that, and there might be, but there are some other layers that still sit in there you need to comply with, and just be mindful to remind people of that somehow through our comms. It's not at your end, Johanna, and I'm not looking at you for that effect, but I'm thinking in, Mr. Culkin's space and our comms space, we just need to remind people that what may seem something isn't always.
Through you, Madam Chair, and on our website, we do advocate that as well, and just saying if in doubt, rather speak to a staff member and we can try and direct you into the right space.
If in doubt, shout out. Yeah, exactly. Good call.
And on that note, do we have any indication of when and if this will be enacted?
I think the submissions are due to close shortly. Have they closed? So it just depends on the timeframes, Madam Chair, but I suspect it will be before the end of the year that they come out with a final decision.
Thank you. I'd just like to go back to the beginning of the report at well, it's not quite the beginning, 2.4, the action 1 pass the second local water done well. And I just want to acknowledge the difficulty that this local water done well coming to us as actual information must create for our staff. It was only yesterday that I was online with the information from DIA, the webinars, they were information on Zoom meeting, where they actually said definitively that stormwater would be included. And up until then, I don't think anyone had the actual reality of whether that was in or out. So it's just as recently as yesterday that decision was determined for me. And I just really felt for staff across all councils in New Zealand, once again scrambling in reply to central government. So thank you. Right, so anything further on that? Are you happy with Katrina? Happy? Yeah. Very good. Well, I'll move that report be received. Councillor Wilson, second. Thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. There's a bit of reading there, of course. And back to you, Katrina.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
I will generally take this one as read and look for any questions or comments on it. It's effectively an update of the strategy and plan development and review program. The attachment has all the relevant updates for each of the strategies or plans that we hold. I've noted some key highlights, which includes the transition to the National Planning Standards in our E-Plan, the Waste Management Minimisation Plan, which Arno's leading. Jared's already talked about the Economic Wellbeing Strategy. And then I thought it was nice just a reminder that we did finish the long-term plan since our last meeting, but note that we are already commencing work on the annual plan.
Yeah, ongoing. Excellent, thank you. Any comments? Councillors, no. I'm just making sure I haven't. Pardon? Oh, beg your pardon, Councillor Wong.
Move that the strategy plan development review be received.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Lambert, seconding, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Carried, excellent. And that brings us to the close of the meeting. Thank you, councillors. Any further comment on anything else? No, we're happy. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you, staff. Excellent work as usual. And thank you, Councillor Dowden, for being here.
Preaching.
Councillor
And Councillor Warren online. Thank you. Thank you, everyone online. And thank you for our members of the public who've attended today.
Weather, you got the wrong weather.